Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far, and in the wake of the massive FaZe versus Los Angeles Thieves beef that resulted from their series on Sunday night, Octane has given his response to the situation, saying that he certainly doesn't agree with the way that Cellium was playing in that particular situation, and also doubling down that Cellium's playstyle is indeed rather ratty, as Octane has made known in the past. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Just a quick update on Fantasy as well. Currently sitting 6th in the Fantasy. It's not looking great, but it's okay because last time we were like in a decent spot and then it all fell apart going into the major. So out of well, the community leaderboard, let's say Karma is topping the lot with a monstrous score so far. He went Hydra, CleanX, Huke and Mack. So that's a great team for now. I do think a lot of people have got X, for example, as quite a good idea here going for Pred and Mack, because obviously Surge having such a bad time in Major 2, they're probably cheaper than maybe they should be. I think Pred was still like $9 though, so not exactly cheap to get Pred, but you know, nonetheless working out for him so far. My team of Simp, Arcitys, Beans and Huke is looking okay, but you know, we'll see how it goes. Also wanted to mention this from Drazah. I was going to shout this out the other day, and then I checked back at the video, and it was like monster. It was absolutely fried in terms of views, right? I thought it was really cool. So Drazah started his channel, and the first video he did, he obviously put it out on Twitter and stuff, and it got probably a couple of thousand views from that. But a lot of these views have been like, well, inherent to the algorithm, and I always love it when pros decide, all right, it's time to do content, right? And they get on the content grind, and it's great to see because, okay, they don't have to do everything themselves. They can get someone to do the thumbnails for them, especially if you're, you know, Los Angeles Thieves. I'm sure you've got a team that can make that happen as well. So Drazah decided, you know what, it's time to make the YouTube thing happen, put his first video out, and his first video popped off. #1 pro player in ranked play, like at 60k views. Perfect timing on it as well, given a lot of pros are, well, starting to make ranked play content, and of course Drazah plays an awful lot of that right now. So I just thought it was really great to see from Drazah and others that they're starting the content grinds. I always love to see it, and he put out another video last night. So yeah, Drazah's kicking off, and obviously Shotzzy and the OpTic guys do a lot of content, and I think Kenny and stuff has also done some stuff as well, and of course some other players attached and the like have always done content for many years. But yeah, every new player we get involved in the content game is always a good sign, especially when their views are going to pop off like that straight off the bat, and hopefully that's going to keep Drazah around for a fair bit longer. Bit of drama as well, because of course cheating has been a big topic of discussion in the last few days. The snaking cheating, the loudness equalization cheating, the staircase glitch potential cheating, the maybe Adderall cheating, but also this from Gunners talking about the tuning. So right now in the game, the tuning is not allowed by the pros. So you can tune the attachments to your liking, and the pros decided, no, know what, this is way too complicated, we're not going to bother doing it. Now I'm guessing there is some degree of advantage to be had if you tune the attachments in a certain way, and some pros reckon, or at least in the amateur community, let's say, that others are abusing this to their advantage. Now it wouldn't be a massive surprise, let's be honest here, because look, if there is some tuning, I don't know what exactly you would do with your tuning to improve the weapon, but if indeed it would improve your weapon, then would you be surprised if some amateur players are doing this? Because you can't tell. Like even in the recent couple of games, it's been tricky because certain players can use banned attachments, and you used to be able to see it in the kill cam. Sometimes you can in recent COD, sometimes you can't, but I think there was an issue last year where the players would be using banned attachments or something they weren't allowed to use, or banned perks and stuff, and then you couldn't see it in the kill cam, so how do you know the other guys are using it? You really can't. And tuning, you certainly can't see in the kill cam. So if someone who you die to is using tuning on an attachment, you're just straight up not gonna know, and I think that's why there's a lot of, you know, let's just say paranoia going around the tier 2 scene, but maybe a lot of it is well-founded, that some players in the tier 2 scene in challenges are using tuning to gain an advantage. Would you be surprised if they were? No, because you just straight up can't tell as far as I'm concerned. So someone's saying to Gunners that he's using it, and he says, no, just admit you're getting slammed by me, it's fine, I know that I'm everything. So Gunners straight up denying that these accusations, but it seems to me that Gunners is pretty much saying here that he's been accused of cheating by certain individuals and using the tuning thing, which, okay, whether you guys consider that cheating or not is up for debate. Slasher would certainly do, as we'll see here in a second. Quick comment as well on the amateurs we've seen so far. Of course, 2 Real came in and went 1-1 this week, but mostly the amateurs have had a rather good start. Beans, of course, 2-0, had a rough first series that bounced back very well up against the London Royal Ravens. Ghosty 1-0 against LA Guerrillas. Hicksy 1-0 for Toronto, taking down Vegas. How do you expect this to go going forward? Of course, it was tricky to say with all the roster changes that happened which one was going to make the most progress. I do feel like the Boston change is quite a promising one for that team. Obviously, as I said, the Florida change should make them better in the respawns, but in terms of winning Game 5 searches or even getting there, doesn't seem to be particularly successful. But as we saw earlier today, Shotzzy was very high on this Ghosty move and what that might potentially do to the OpTic camp going forward. So we'll see if that works out for them this weekend. But again, will the streak continue? OpTic and Ghosty have a pretty hard run, right? They're play Toronto next. So one of Ghosty and Hicksy's streaks is going to come to an end. Beans, though, could continue. They play Florida, I believe, this weekend. So, well, we'll see if that continues for them. Now, let's talk about the drama again. So this was, if you guys missed it, I don't know how you might have done, but, well, regardless, after the series that Drazah and co played up against FaZe, he was calling out for the very first break-off of the series, Cellium using this so-called stair glitch. Now, it turned out that he really wasn't using the staircase glitch. The actual glitch is where you lay down on the staircase here and you actually can't be seen by Drazah coming through this archway. Drazah then actually tweeted proving himself wrong that indeed Cellium wasn't staircase glitching. But nonetheless, people were frustrated about the way that Cellium was playing it for some reason, even though it seems like pretty standard break-off type stuff as far as I'm concerned. And then we had all the back and forth between Slasher and co, and eventually Slasher was accusing Drazah of being on the pill. Not the contraceptive pill, but, you know, the other pill that sometimes goes around the COD scene, apparently. And even Slasher was kind of following up to this last night and saying, you know, just straight up making up that I'm using it. And he says, like, I literally never have used it. I don't cheat, he says. Which I do believe Slasher on this point, right? People think that all the pros have done it and all this, but, like, Slasher's been very vocal for probably since the start of his career about trying to shut down on this stuff. And obviously, we talked about it a bit yesterday. And one of the things that frustrates me, though, and Huke obviously made this very clear in his video we did a couple of years ago now, where he said that actually, like, abusing Adderall and stuff for these matches had taken a serious toll on his life, like, in terms of his mental and all this type of stuff. It can be a seriously dangerous drug that I think that's often overlooked. And he made it very clear at the time, Huke, that since he's got off it, like, he feels so much better in himself, and he's also playing better as well because he's just feeling better in a better headspace rather than using this all the time to get an advantage. So, yeah, that's one of the other things that I think is not talked about enough, is that it's actually a very dangerous thing to use anyway, especially on a consistent basis for a lot of these guys. So, you know, anyway, good to see that Slasher's fighting the fight against it. But Octane was kind of doubling down on the situation here. So, of course, he's going to support, you know, Drazah and his particular team. And the other day, we saw Octane was kind of going a little bit off at Cellium because, obviously, FaZe and aBeZy was like, oh, yeah, Drazah, I'm going to snake you because you're the King Cobra at the moment, right? And it's not even Cellium that's the worst offender anymore, it's Drazah. But Octane made the point that actually, it's not Drazah's fault that Cellium has normalized snaking in competitive play, which I do think is probably a fair point, that without Cellium doing what he's done the last few years, it wouldn't be allowed to such an extent that it is nowadays, that Drazah and other pros are now abusing snaking all the time. So Octane was defending Drazah on that point and was kind of coming at Cellium the other day, and now there's a new chance to defend Drazah and come at Cellium, and Octane's going to, well, grab this opportunity by both hands. They won the series the other day, and Octane gave his thoughts on the situation about the stair glitch, and look, Octane kind of admits, alright, maybe it wasn't actually a staircase glitch, but nonetheless, he reckons it was a bit cringe, he reckons, to go right at the start of the game and sit in that spot and hold the flank from that position, which, okay, I can understand, but at the end of the day, he's just playing the game, and whether he's doing it right at the start of the game or not doesn't really seem to matter too much. But Octane's certainly calling out Cellium for what he perceives as a bit of a ratty playstyle, and then also doubles down and saying, yeah, look, it's a common knowledge that I believe Cellium was a bit of a rat, and you know, that doesn't change my opinion from all this particular drama.
Do I think MC did some scum with the stairs, and I think people are fighting both sides? Yeah, absolutely. Especially because it was his break off, and that's cringe. That's all I got. That's the only input that I got, bro. Can you stop being friends with everyone and stick up for your teammate? I mean, I kind of, like, MC, like, kind of did some shit, but, like, what do you want me to do? You guys know my opinion on MC. I think he's a fucking rat. Like, what do you want me to do about it? I don't know. I think my opinion on MC and how he plays Call of Duty is very well known. I think that's nothing new to you guys.
So I think it's quite clear when you look at the information here, and Cellium gets this kill. He's quite clearly crouched, so I don't think there's any real, like, cheating going on here necessarily. It does seem a little bit like Octane's coming up with reasons to talk trash, but at the end of the day, this LA Thieves versus FaZe drama has been spicy for some time, and it's certainly not going away anytime soon. And it's quite interesting how, of course, Slasher, from being on Thieves a couple of years ago, and at the time raging against Cellium and FaZe for doing the snaking as it was back in Cold War, has now, of course, being on the FaZe team, he's now going to align with them for obvious reasons, and therefore Thieves are going to band together and align with each other, and therefore the drama doesn't just end up being between Drazah and aBeZy as it was, or Drazah and Cellium as it maybe still is, but it also then boils over to Octane versus those guys as well. And okay, Envoy doesn't really get involved too much in the drama, so, you know, don't want to insinuate that he's, you know, coming rogue against these guys as well, but just some pretty entertaining stuff, to be honest. And I'm looking forward to when these guys play again, because Thieves versus FaZe is always a banger at the moment. Of course, they played in the major finals, and they're both 1-1, right, so far in the standings. So there is a reasonable possibility that at some point they match up again. Obviously, if they both make the winners bracket, as they probably still will, then they should find themselves in a pretty decent position to, well, make a run through the winners. Of course, on LAN, Thieves are always better anyway. FaZe are almost always going to be there on the Championship Sunday regardless, so, you know, that's what's pretty exciting, I think, about the potential matchup between these two teams again, is that, I mean, yeah, every single time they play, there's some sort of fireworks, especially when Thieves and Drazah win. He always rubs it in, which I guess you got to respect in a way. One final thing I've got to mention for you guys before we close out the video, because I was going to discuss this the other day, or at least share the clip of this. I thought it was too funny, but there was so much else happening that I never got round to it, and that was this clip. So if you guys remember, the big drama at the start of the season was OpTic versus Rokkr, the SAE drama when Cammy called in the streak, got frozen for a bit because it glitched. Rokkr then pushed very hard for a replay. They eventually got the replay. OpTic refused to play it, forfeited the series, and it was all kicking off as a result, right? All the drama against Cammy, against Rokkr, against the coaching staff, against the CDL happened as a result. Now, the day after this, Rokkr had another match scheduled, and OpTic were meant to warm them up for this game, because often the pros, when they're not scrimming, they'll say, okay, yeah, we'll just play you in a few maps to warm up for the series. It's good practice usually for both teams, and that team can go in warmed up and ready to go for their series. So Rokkr had a game the next day, and they were meant to play OpTic and had got that scheduled in advance. Turns out, though, OpTic, being incredibly petty after all this drama, waited until the very last minute before they were meant to warm up Rokkr, and then said, nah, guys, sorry, we're going to cancel that one, unfortunately, and then let them go and completely cold to their series.
I think y'all warm us up a decent amount.
SE.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck them kids.
Actually, don't warm up anymore.
Actually, no, you're not. You know what's funny is like after the SAE us, they had to warm up against us the next day. We didn't tell them until like literally their match started, but then we shocked. Yo, I literally texted the chat. I'm like, yo, don't let them know we're gonna chalk. I'm sleeping in.
They got it now. That shocked, bro.
Yeah,
it's still there, bro. Like,
I literally soaked that so much sleep.
Problem, bro.
I literally slept in. I said absolutely. Thank you guys. And then yo, they won that series, but the first map they got tugged. They were so stiff, like.
Oh, I bet they're, you know.
So it's pretty entertaining looking back on it, right? And obviously, it's in the course of the season, it's not a massive deal. But obviously, yeah, it must be said, if that happened to OpTic, could you imagine all the drama that would be as a result? And maybe it's just because OpTic are the most popular team. But this way around, it seems more kind of funny than anything. But I still feel like, you know, maybe a little bit unnecessary on Rokkr. Because fundamentally, I think it was the league's issue. But I know that OpTic put a lot of blame on Rokkr individually. And that's probably why at the time they still held that massive grudge that has probably got away now, but honestly, who really knows? And just to close out with this from the CDL, who do you want to see in a CDL boxing match? And there are many possible entertaining candidates here, and even as Sasha says to Preds, why would you possibly wish death upon yourself? But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.